I love a personality test. I love a personality test. Now, some of these tests are grounded in scientific research that has been, they think about it, they quantify it. So there's some science. And some of these tests are basically ripped from Cosmopolitan magazine from like the 70s, right? They're just like, it's like a bad horoscope, utter fiction, complete and utter fiction. But the good ones can sometimes illuminate our similarities and our differences in a helpful way, including in the area of money. So we're going to take a closer look at one of these money management personality tests, and we're going to use one of our favorite personal finance experts to talk about that. Melissa Leong is an expert. She's on the social, she's everywhere, and she's also the author of a great book called Happy Go Money. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce. I love that you referenced Cosmo magazine.
Oh, yeah. Did it take you back to your teenhood, like your 14-year-old self?
I'm sorry. I love quizzes. I love the ridiculous ones in teen magazines. I love the pop quizzes in school because I was the nerdy girl with headgear. So This is my jam.
Oh, yes. So how do you think about these tests? Do you think they're helpful?
I actually do. I mean, I completely agree with you. Some of them are just fun and random, but others are absolutely created based on psychology, on common money beliefs and behaviors that researchers have actually broken down and recognized. I mean, these money styles reveal your personal money beliefs, how you use money, your habits, your tendencies. So I think you can relate to more than one personality, but I really think that by just identifying your money personality, looking into it, this is key. This is key to being better with money.
We're going to talk about one that comes from Ramit Sethi. He is the person behind I Will Teach You to Be Rich. He does many, many things, podcasts, books, all that. He's got five, archetypes or styles or whatever. The first one is ostriches. This paints a very clear visual image of the behavior of someone who might fit that style. What would you say about this style?
I identified a couple of money personalities in my own book. And so there is a little bit of overlap. There's some that is not included in his list, but the ostrich is in my list. Some other people call it the idealist. I call it the flyer. You're basically indifferent to money. You bury your head in your sand. You don't want to think about it. Your childhood experience with money may be that your family never spoke about it. So it is not a part of your language.
There are personal finance nerds. Now, I hope we're taking back that nerd because this is probably me. And I don't know if I like the word nerd. What did you make of this?
It's cool to be nerdy. It's cool to be nerdy now, Bruce. Yeah. Yes, I say so.
All right.
But yes, being a personal finance nerd, I think is synonymous with being a saver, a stockpiler. Those are some of the other names that studies have given these individuals, these wonderful people who I consider myself part of this group. They count every penny. They love spreadsheets. They obsessively save. There could be a downside to this, obviously, being obsessed with counting every penny, but that is something that I identify with for sure.
I feel like this is a type that might be over glamorized, even though this describes the two of us. And I say that because a lot of people feel like, well, I can't be like that. So therefore I may as well be an ostrich because I'm never doing all those other things. And as I think you and I would agree, we live on a spectrum, and the nerds do not need to, the behavior of the nerds does not need to be ubiquitous in order for people to be successful managing their money.
No, and I think there are different money styles out there, and you may relate to different parts of different money personalities, right? Like you said, it's not a monolith, you can be shades.
Free spirits is another one that Ramit talks about. They look at their credit balance, maybe they move on. What did you take away from the free spirit type? Is there parts of that work well and parts that don't work so well?
I feel like a free spirit is more of a hedonist, more of a spender, somebody perhaps who splurges to make themselves happy. This is a category of people. They may have higher debt. They want to enjoy life regardless of how much money they have in the bank, right? So you make your life enjoyable regardless of what that means.
His fifth style, he calls them automators, which I don't know. That seems like just a subgroup of the personal finance nerds. It's a
Yes.
behavior that I think works. And I think you could be a free spirit and be an automator. You can be an ostrich and be an automator too. Am I right?
I completely agree. This was the personality that I thought, well, this really could be anything. It's just uh, it's a tool that people use to make their lives more simple. But then you can also be someone who just automates it and never looks. A couple of other personalities that I feel that are missed in this particular list is the so-called nurturer or security seeker. This is something that I really identify with. And as someone who has a lot of friends who have immigrant family members, this is that subsect of people who will save lots of money for their loved ones, who spend a lot of money on others, but they never spend on themselves. You know, that idea that, you know, I will suffer so that other people can prosper.
What of this is just deeply ingrained in who we are as humans, and what can be influenced? Because if we look at like the hardcore personality tests and preferences, the one that I know best is Myers-Briggs, and there's a dichotomy in Myers-Briggs that is extrovert versus introvert, and I am so far down the path of extrovert. Like I just don't even know what I would do if I couldn't talk to people. The pandemic just about killed me because I couldn't be out there talking to people all the time. And that is, it feels to me very hardwired into who I am and what I value. What of this lives there, and what can you work on and modify and, you know, smooth the edges on?
I definitely believe that we are hardwired at birth to have certain behaviors. You know, you think about when you were a small child, were you the kid who saved all the Halloween candy like me and categorized it until the next year so that I could eat it in next October 29th before I planned to get more? Or were you like my husband, who basically ate it all in a day and then the next day tried to negotiate to take other people's candies? Right. So there is that portion that is baked in you. And I do think there is another huge portion that is learned from your family, learned from your culture, society, what is reflected back to you about money, depending on whether you are female, you're BIPOC. There's that portion, the money scripts. You know, everybody talks about what is the money stories in your life.
With any area in which you want to improve yourself, you want to alter your behavior, a strong dose of introspection and insight can be really, really helpful. Where do these money personality tests, for lack of a better phrase, fit within that introspection? What can you do with them that will be something more than just the dishy and delightful entertainment of a cosmopolitan magazine on the sun, covered out in the sun in the summer, covered with baby oil and eating Doritos?
You just described my dream day.
Oh, I know.
I always say that with any money makeover, any financial empowerment, that needs to begin with you looking at you. Check yourself before you wreck your wealth. And some of these fun quizzes can be a conversation starter for you and your partner. It is a great way to get started talking without fighting about the differences in your life. You know, my husband is a combination of a money maker, somebody who sees that money is a status symbol, and he's a hedonist. He's come from a family of entrepreneurs who work so hard to give their family gifts. I understand this. I am from a family of immigrants. We are all about scarcity, cultural responsibility to take care of others, even at your expense. We buy the cheap toilet paper and our butts suffer so we can save money to share it. But this is an opportunity for you to talk about it and then reflect on some of your scripts.
We're both parents, and that is a lot. It's a lot.
A lot of responsibility.
Oh my God, these monsters in our home. How do you, we love them. We love them. How do you connect this conversation about money personality or money types to your parenting?
I think about it all the time, Bruce, and I feel guilty about it all the time because my husband and I literally had an argument about this yesterday in the car in front of my children.
What was the argument?
We were talking about him wanting to splurge on something for our upcoming vacation. And I was saying no, and he was saying yes. And he was telling my son in the backseat that mommy can be cheap. And I said, Daddy wants to spend on stuff we may not need. So this was this conversation. But what is a great exercise that we all can do is to be mindful of the way that you talk about money, because we are trying to explain to our son why we have these beliefs. And that is something that you can do. So 3 simple things you can do: reflect, reframe, rewrite. So reflect. What are 3 things that you learned about money from your dad? What is the happiest memory you've ever had with money? What was your most traumatic? And then write down your money beliefs. The second thing is to reframe them. Are they helpful or harmful? If they are harmful, then you need to figure out how to rewrite them. Finally, when you do rewrite them, can you rewrite it in a way that is empowering?
Can you come to my house? Could I outsource this to you with my 13-year-old? I'll come over to your house and mow your lawn or make dinner or something if you do that magic work with my child.
That magic work is the hardest work we will ever do. I can barely do it in my own household, but I can try. I'll try.
You can try. Melissa, it is a delight to see you. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Melissa Leong joining us to talk about one version of the many, many, many versions of personality types as it relates to money.